Hello and welcome to the Brave Room, episode 2. Now, the Brave Room is a little more packed today because with us we have the lovely Akane Yoshizaki from WFS Inc.
Hello.
Great, and as always, I am your host, Wan and Amirul from GamerBraves, and with me we have...
Kit, also from GamerBraves.
Hey, and just like that, let's get started. How are you doing today, Akane?
I'm doing good. How are you?
It's pretty okay. Looks like it's gonna rain. It always means a fun drive home.
How long have you guys been working from home anyway?
Since March, I think. So 9 months maybe.
So that's pretty much from the very beginning.
Yes, from day one.
Mm-hmm.
That's an impressive streak. We've dipped in and out of it.
Yeah, I thought we would be out of it sooner, but that's life.
That's life. I mean, at least you learn to work from home. Like, it's a lot more convenient when you don't have to worry about crashing your car because you're tired.
Exactly.
So, speaking of work, WFS Inc. and its parent company, Gree Inc., you guys develop and publish a bunch of games for the mobile market. So we noticed with a lot of mobile games in particular, sometimes they only get Japan or Korean releases, and sometimes they get worldwide releases.
Mm-hmm.
So who makes that decision? What flips that switch from, we're going to stick to Japan, to everyone in the world gets to try their luck at this?
So just to introduce myself a little bit, so I've been with Gree/WFS for a little over a year now, and it's my first experience working professionally with gacha games, so to speak. But the parent company Gree, of course, has a long history with not only smartphone games, but mobile games even before the smartphone industry. For your question, I don't think it's one particular person who says, hey, let's release this game outside of Japan. So sorry, to continue. So there's not one person who calls the shots and says, hey, let's release this globally. It's, a collective decision, I feel like. I mean, that's the case for most business decisions in any company, I think. So I can't speak for all projects because every game is different, but I think generally speaking, we would look at a variety of elements that would decide. And I think for Gree or WFS, some of our games are developed entirely from inside the studio, but some of them are joint projects, maybe with IP holders like, for example, anime or manga or like novels. So, it would be a partnership with other companies as well. And sometimes, those IPs would have large followings outside of Japan, and maybe sometimes they are uniquely popular in Japan. So I think that is definitely one factor in deciding. And I think sometimes maybe it depends on how the game itself would appeal to audiences outside of Japan, or whether or not that studio has bandwidth to localize and release the game outside of Japan. So I guess generally speaking, it's hard to say any one factor that would decide whether to release the game exclusively in Japan or outside. And sometimes that decision comes later, like maybe if the game is very successful, then it would make more sense to release it outside of Japan as well.
Yeah, because has Sino Alice got an English release yet?
Yeah. Sino got the English release earlier this year after being a year in limbo.
Yeah.
With the benefit of hindsight, that was a no-brainer that it would do popular in English because, it's made by Yoko Taro, and he's everyone's favorite game director right now.
Yeah.
I guess I can see what you mean when you say that some games, like, they just have, they're going to do well if you release them overseas.
Yeah, and I think Sino Alice is kind of unique that the game released just when Nier Automata released. So actually, it would have been hard to tell when it was in development if it would be successful to the level that it is now. In hindsight, it's a very smart decision, but it was a really good choice on PokeLabel's part to choose that particular partnership.
Yeah, you chose a perfect time when the universe was at peak recognition of Yoko Taro.
Exactly.
because I only recently got into mobile gaming, and so
Oh, really?
yeah, so I'd only heard of Sinnoh Alice as the game by the Nier Automata guy. Like I hadn't heard of it until they had that 2B collaboration event. Because my
What
friend was
was your
stressing
first
me.
mobile game?
My first mobile game was Food Fantasy, I think, because Fate Grand Order hadn't
That's the
come
one
out.
where there's people who represent each dish.
Yeah, they represent food.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I have been playing mobile games for so long. I pretty much saw people. Oh my God, Sinnoh will finally come out in English, and then they got left in limbo, and
Yeah.
they got super bitter over the company that was handling it prior before it finally came out this year.
3 years after the Japan release.
Yeah, everyone had to stick with the Japan release. I mean, they all get the guides from the Japan release, so they get a better start in English, I suppose.
Yeah, but you also get the bitterness of knowing that the Japan events will take a while to get to you.
Well, I mean, it would depend on the company after all. Like, for example, if you want to take another WFS game, another Eden, they've released the collaboration simultaneously for both Japan and English. So it really depends.
Yeah, I guess so. Akane, do you work much with localization?
I work in the marketing team at WFS.
Okay. The subject of localization has been going on for as long as anime has been available in English-speaking countries. Right, there's the question of, do you want to alienate Western fans if you put too much like Japanisms into it? Like, for example, I remember there was an anime on Netflix where they converted, anytime a character mentions a price, they converted it to USD in the subtitles. And I thought that's a little much.
Don't forget the jelly donuts.
Yeah, and then you have the Pokemon level of extreme
Oh,
where it's,
right, the rice balls.
no man, they're jelly donuts, don't worry about it.
Oops.
So, when you're making these decisions, how important would you say English voiceover is?
So I can't speak for anime because I haven't worked in that particular industry.
Oh
but
no, we went specifically with mobile games, yeah.
And I feel like over time people outside of Japan have become kind of used to anime as a culture.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of appreciation for voice acting, for example. And I think Japanese voice acting has a pretty long history. And so I think that for some of the mobile game fans out there, a lot of them do prefer the Japanese voices, but it really depends on the preference. Some people prefer dubbed anime and they prefer English voices. So it's really hard to say. And for games like one of our games, Danmachi Memoria Freeze, which is based on the light novel Danmachi, and we use Japanese voice actors from the anime because people are so familiar with those voice actors. But for original IP titles like Another Eden, we do have English voices as well. So I think it does depend on the title and kind of the genre that the game is in, but we're still, I guess, figuring it out, and it's hard to say, which is better because I think people have different preferences.
Yeah, no, because we were hoping you had like in your tome of marketing knowledge like the definitive answer whether subs or dubs is better.
Yeah, I mean, I wish there was a magic answer, but I don't think anybody really knows.
Now that you say, okay, anime, it's really, you can argue it's really accepted outside now. How would you market a Japanese game outside of Japan, even outside of the scope of it's anime?
Maybe marketing to people who are not fans of anime. Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, is the one card you cannot use is it's your favorite anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I guess for example, like a game like Another Eden or maybe Alice to an extent, like it's not really based on a story that's well known already. Like you said, it's really challenging because there's no fan base that's already out there. that is something that is difficult because WFS is not really a game label that's known to everyone globally. So I guess we've been learning as we go along, working with media outlets like yourselves, with influencers, or just trying to find partners who can work with us to promote our game outside of Japan. Yeah, it's been a learning process for us.
So as you can tell, we're clearly trying to find out as much as we can about your secret marketing book of marketing tricks. So when is the best time of year to release a gacha game? Because clearly there has to be some timing to it.
So I think you may have noticed that there's games being released almost every day of the year. So I don't think there's a best time, unfortunately. I'm sure companies try to avoid holidays, for example, when people might be busy, or media outlets might be on holiday as well, or we may try to avoid competitors or big AAA titles coming out because they would kind of take up the space. But I don't think there's one particular time of the year that really works for everyone.
That's the conclusion we'd figured out as well.
I'm sure you get press releases sent to you every single day.
Yeah. Pretty much.
That was a lot of questions about work, Akane. Now we want to know about at home, Akane.
Okay.
So you told us in the pre-segment you do play some mobile games.
Which ones do you play?
I've been playing a lot of Bang Dream, the rhythm game. That's kind of my guilty pleasure that I've probably spent too much money on.
Oh, sweet! This is the follow-up is gonna be great on this. My brother loves Bang Dream as well. I prefer Starlight, but that's just down to preferences.
Yeah, I haven't played that one.
I used to play School Idol Festival myself.
Yeah, everyone has a favorite, I feel like.
Yeah. Wait, before I move on to my favorite follow-up, do you have a favorite character in Bang Dream?
I kind of love them all.
Come on, there's one. There's every time you hit the pull button, you secretly hope that one of them comes up.
So I really love Aya, the pink-haired girl.
Oh, her. Yeah. No, she's great.
Yeah. I love that group, the idol group, the kind of cutesy aesthetic.
That's Hello Happy World, right?
Yes. No. I can't.
Pasupare?
Oh, so yeah, Pasupari. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. I keep mixing them up. Okay, so when you're doing these pulls, you've confessed that real money has been spent on these pulls. In our companion podcast, which is just me and Kit talking, we talked about gacha rituals. We want to know what kind of rituals have you developed to perfect your pull?
So when I look at social media, I see that a lot of people have rituals like going to a certain place. I didn't know that was a thing, actually.
I mean, it doesn't have to be as grand as going to a place. Like, for example, I'm convinced that my phone knows when I'm trying to make a pull. So it will deny me any cards that I want. So I always try to make sure someone else does it. So someone else hits the button and I get it. So do you have anything similar to that?
Yeah, actually I do that. Whenever a friend is with me, I would kind of get that person to press the button or pull the switch or whatever is needed. But I don't know if that has brought me luck in particular. But I never do a single pull, so I guess that's one thing that I make sure to.
Right, there's just no point in single pulls. It's like this.
Exactly.
It just doesn't hit you the same.
Exactly.
But if the animation is really long and pretty, like Genshin, I suppose, why not? And the PT carries over anyway, it doesn't matter.
No, it's not about function, it's about the hit. So, Kit has one of the, I don't know if it's genius or boring, but her ritual is math. She counts for pity and then waits until she's about to hit the pity counter.
Yeah,
And then you pull them all at once?
Yeah, because when people have calculated the rates and you have a very limited resource, you might as well just follow the math and pull only when it's most beneficial to you. Then beyond that, it's a scam.
You can't min-max blackjack. You can't min-max blackjack. So, well, this is pretty much for our topics. But is there any projects that you'd like to? This is your space to promote any projects that you're currently working with.
I guess I haven't talked much about the games that I work on. So I don't know if you guys have played, but I work mostly on Another Eden and Danmachi no Moria Freeze that I mentioned. I think Another Eden, especially if you like old school JRPGs, it really kind of hits the spot, and you can play on your phone. And actually, the story is written by the creator of Chrono Trigger, so that's why you might recognize the Frog Knight.
I knew it was familiar. I was just.
So yeah, I definitely want listeners to try out the game. It's available pretty much everywhere in the world, actually. And yeah, it has beautiful music, beautiful art, and I forget that it's a free game on a phone. It's really immersive, just like what you played on the old school consoles back in the day.
Yeah, no, JRPGs on mobile is such a great combination because, you can't really play them on home consoles because there's no point in time where you're spending 20 hours on the sofa.
I mean, if you want me to shield additionally for Another Eden, they have the 2 Persona 5 collabs and the Tales series collabs, and they're permanent, so you can just go over anytime and pick up the characters that you like.
You may have actually just sold me on this.
That's perfect. Actually, that you can play anytime, so there's no time limited stuff like a lot of the gacha games have, where you have to spend money to pull by a certain time. It's all available for free, and the characters are actually all free too, so you can play whenever when you feel like it.
So you hear that, listeners? If you're listening to this in a car right now, pull up to the side of the road, because don't pull out your phone while you're driving. Just give Another Eden, at least download it now, and then play it when you're not on the road, because that's really dangerous.
My previous company, we actually had one install from North Korea, and I'm not sure if it was legitimate, but we always imagined that one person in North Korea playing our game.
If you're the one North Korean dude who downloaded the game, we hope you're having a lovely time right now. Just know you're still in Akane's mind.
Enjoy this podcast.
And this podcast too. We'll do a special thank you for you at the end of the show. And with that, I think we have a good show. So once again, thank you, Akane, for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
If you're listening to the Brave Room right now, don't forget to rate us on the service of your choice. We're on Spotify, we're on Anchor, heck, we're even on YouTube. Leave a comment, say hi. If you're the one North Korean listener, also say hi.
안녕하세요.
This has been The Brave Room, episode 2, and I have been Wan Amirul.
I have Kit.
And thank you for listening. See you.